Greetings all, Shane Bruce, Restomod Daisy, with an unusual problem today. Current work project is this Daisy Model 94, or excuse me, Daisy Model 1938 Red Ryder Carbine, and we are in the process of rebuilding this gun, and it had a peculiar incident I wanted to share with you. When I went to knock the abutment seal, this little device, out of the gun, it came out easily enough, but guess what? The abutment washer came with it. Now, this is the metal tab that actually holds the shot tube into the gun. And you'll see it's got two distinct faces. It's got a flat face with two cuts in it, and you flip it over, it's got a step down inside, and it's just threaded. This is what the shot tube, back out a little bit, this is how the shot tube threads into the gun. So when this thing is mounted in the gun and the shot tube is mounted in the gun, it's holding on to the abutment washer. The abutment washer is parked right about here. And inside the gun, there are two metal tabs that have to fold over these ends. All right, so if it's installed correctly, let's see if we can actually show you one that's in the gun in the correct fashion. Let's see if you can get down in there. Doesn't look like that's going to work for us. There are two metal tabs that are folded at the 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock position, and that's what holds the abutment washer in the gun and allows it to mount the shot tube firmly. So this is an example of what that looks like when it's correct. When I took the abutment washer out of this gun, this is what it looked like. You'll see that it's got a little dent and a little dent at the 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock positions. Now this is what it should have looked like. A large dent at the 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock position, because those metal flanges should have been folded over this abutment washer right here to hold it in place and prevent it from rotating. But in this gun, both flanges were extended. Now, I can't for the life of me believe that this gun left Daisy in that condition. Possible, I suppose, but never seen it before. This is a unique deal. So I have to think that somebody's been in this gun, messed around with it, pretty much the way I do. But when they reinstalled the gun, they failed to bend the metal tabs over to hold this in place. So this is an issue. So now we're going to show you how we're going to try and get this thing seated back correctly into the receiver and get the tabs bent over so the gun will function. So we're going to take a long plastic piece of, actually an old set of blinds, trim down the end so that it's got a bit of a taper. Then we're going to just sit our abutment washer on that. Now this is the end of the abutment washer that has to face the back of the gun. That's got to be in the back of the gun because there has to be a spot for the metal tabs to flip over. So our first step is going to be to thread our assembly through the receiver and gently, carefully pull that down so that we've got our tabs at the 6 o'clock, excuse me, at the 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock position. And we're going to ease this into the compression chamber. And if everything goes really well, we'll get that lined up. Here we're going to take it over here to the bench, to the vise, because I've got to be able to see what I'm doing to try and get this lined up correctly. All right, that looks right. I can see the flanges at the 6 o'clock position and the 3 o'clock position. So now that we've got that lined up correctly, we're going to take our other little device. Yeah, stick it down there, see if you can see it. It's really hard. It's difficult. One day we'll get better equipment for this kind of thing. But anyway, so now we've got our abutment washer position. We've got our insertion tool hanging onto the abutment washer. We're going to place this wooden dowel on the back side of the abutment washer and pull out our insertion tool. So that's done with. Now to hold the abutment washer in position when we get ready to stake it or reinstall it, we're going to just use a shot tube. So we're going to thread this up. We're going to engage our washers, our abutment washer, and we're going to thread it in place. And we'll know that we're done when we can't pull the shot tube out. And I can feel it spinning in there, so okay, that's hanging on. Now we have to take a look and see if we shifted the abutment washer's position, which we did. So we'll have to redo it. So we'll stop and go back at this again. Okay, after quite a bit of fiddling about, we've finally got the abutment washer in its correct position. And you'll notice that the 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock position there looks like little slips of metal. Those are the flanges we're looking to get. We've got it secured by a shot tube. So now we're going to go to the next step of the process, which is bending those little metal tabs over so that they're holding on to the abutment washer. So we'll get that set up, and then we'll get back to you and show you how you go about doing that. Okie doke. Now we've taken the receiver that we're working on. We have a shot tube installed. It's holding onto the abutment washer internally so that it can't go anywhere. And now we're going to attempt to bend those tabs. This is the tool we're going to use, just a piece of steel rod, 1/2 inch. And what we're going to do is we're going to slide this bad boy into the receiver. And we've got the receiver in this orientation because we want the tab at 3 o'clock to be where we can slide this in and find it. Once we find it, you got to do the fiddly bit because we're trying to get on the little tab. This may have an issue. Anyway, we'll give it a tap and see what happens. Okay, yeah, I can feel it now. Basically, when you take the metal rod, you slide it in right up against the abutment and pull it back. It should go about that far and then fall. So now we have it where we want it. We're going to give it a good series of sharp taps. Matter of fact, we're going to go to a little heavier hammer because we want to try to bend that tab of metal up. There we are. And we're going to take a look inside and see if we got our job done and got that first tab installed. We're almost there. It's on the way. So we're going to give it another couple of taps to contact, pull back out. You can feel it through the tube. It's difficult to see, but you can feel it in the tube. Then we give it another sharp tap, check the work, see if the tab is flipped over. The tab is flipped over. So now what we're going to do is roll the gun over 180 degrees to get the other tab. Same process. Slide your long, a little bit less than 3/4 metal bar in there. Make contact with the abutment washer, pull it back. There we are. We're going to reverse and use the other end here. It's got a couple of deformations on it. So we find the abutment washer, then we back off about there, lay it flat down because we want to catch that little lip and curl it up. And now we're going to give it a smack or two. I'm going to check our work and see if we've gotten the bend started. And we have. So now we're going to give it a couple of love taps just to help it seat and stay put. And then we're going to show you what the end result looks like, which will be different looking than it was when we took a peek down the bore prior to doing this. So let's get this gun inverted and see if our camera can pick up what the abutment washer looks like now. And hopefully you'll be able to see that there are, oops, there are 2 little tabs that are bent down there now, if I can get this light in the right spot.
Oh man, I'm all over the place. Give me a sec.
Well, it's difficult work.
Go under. There you go.
Ah, there we go. And as you can see, there we are. They're a bit battered, but they're bent over and they're hanging onto the abutment at this position it should be in. And that is how you reinstall an abutment washer if it comes out of the gun unexpectedly. That's all we got today for you, kids. This is Shane Bruce with Restomodding, signing off.